future.
Are you ready to crush your bookies?
Evolution.
Hello, my faithful YouTube viewers. It's really good to see you again. Hey, before I forget, I will hold another live stream tomorrow, same time, so 11 a.m. Eastern. So I hope you can make it again. There are some afternoon games again tomorrow, so that's why I prefer to do some live streams on those days because sometimes some of my picks concern afternoon games and you may get to see the picks too late when they are pre-recorded because it takes a while before I shoot the clips and we do all the video production and upload it on YouTube. All right, so the least we could say is that we're having a tough start to the week as both picks on Monday lost and both picks on Tuesday also lost. But let's not lose faith. Remember what happened last week. So that was not a long time ago, where we also got off to a wrong start to the week, but we ended with 5 consecutive wins later in the week. So I hope that we're going to turn things around once again. So for today, I've decided to keep things simple. Well, most of you know that I have developed 19 MLB betting systems back in 2019, and they are the basis to my picks. Like they are like the first step. Then I dig deeper to see if I like the picks or not. And today, those 19 betting systems are pointing in the direction of 4 different teams. So, in other words, there are 4 system picks for today. That does not necessarily mean that I love each of them. So I will dive into each of them and let you know how much I like or dislike the pick. You can see on your screen the 4 games in question. So let's start with pick number 1 that concerns the Twins versus Cubs game. So in this case, we have a pick backed by the following betting system called the snap winning streak. The rules are very simple and pretty effective. Fade the road team if they have lost their previous game after winning at least 5 in a row. All right, so in this case, the road team is the Minnesota Twins, and they rode a 5 game winning streak that was halted yesterday when they lost. So if you follow these rules, the pick for this game goes to the home team, the Chicago Cubs. So the rationale here is that you have a team that went through a great run. They won at least 5 games in a row. And then, as soon as they lose 1 game, they have a tendency to lose a second consecutive game. So maybe their confidence is shaken, but that is what historical data is telling us. All right, now let me say a few more words about this game so that I give you some indication as to how much I like the pick. During the past 4 seasons, since I developed the system, I've been tracking every single day which teams qualify under which system. Now, if you focus on the snap winning streak system, during the past 4 years, we have had 145 bets. And those bets have generated a net gain of plus 3.6% ROI. So we have a positive return on investment of around plus 4% over 4 years. That is quite good. However, it has not enjoyed good success this season as we currently hold an 11-16 record in the 2024 season. But that is not enough to crush my confidence about this system that has done well over many, many seasons. So on demand, we have a great pitching duel between Joe Ryan and Javier Assad. Joe Ryan is having an awesome season. His ERA is not necessarily spectacular at 3.59, but his whip statistic, the walks plus hits per inning pitch, is 0.99, which is fantastic. Remember that the league average is 1.30. So Joe Ryan has not had a lot of traffic on the bases when he has been on demand. Now he has done better at home than on the road since 2022. His ERA at home has been 3.57 versus 4.29 on the road. So that is good news for us since we are considering taking the Cubs. Now Javier Assad gets the nod for Chicago and he's pretty hard to predict. He got off to a fantastic start to the current season. In his first 9 games, he gave up just 8 earned runs over 48 and one-third innings. Now, if you do the math, that translates into an ERA of 1.49. Wow, that's incredible. But during the last 11 starts, he has not fared nearly as well. His ERA in this time frame has been 4.83. So what is going on with him? He has shown some signs of improvement lately, so I wish him the best. I hope that he can turn things around because as of late he has not done so great. One of the biggest problems for him has been command. He's had some command issues because he has walked 10 batters over his past 13 and one-third innings, which is quite unacceptable in the big leagues. Now, this year, he has fared much better at home via a 2.20 ERA versus 4.17 on the road. So again, my my systems recommend betting the Chicago Cubs. And as you can see on your screen, the highest line I saw like half an hour ago was 1 plus 121. Now, after analyzing this game deeper, I think this is a valid play. Okay, this is not necessarily a premium play where I'm going to bet a full unit. I think it's worth taking a shot. So to me, that is a viable play. I like the Cubs here, even though it's not necessarily a great play in my mind. So if you like the Cubs, I think you could go ahead and take a stab on Chicago. All right, up next, we're going to discuss the Giants versus Nationals game. And I want to say hello to Brian McGuire and also Arizona Outdoors, who are here today watching this live stream. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Now, this time in the San Francisco versus Washington game, we have a pick supported by the comeback betting system. Let's review its rules before I talk about its recent performance. It recommends betting any team that came back from a deficit of 4 plus runs in their previous game if they are facing the same opponent as yesterday and if they are not big favorites. More specifically, after analyzing a 7-year data set, it looks like a good threshold is minus 175 odds. So if you have a team that's favored by more than this, stay away from it. So for example, if you have a team whose money line is minus 200, well, don't do it because it has not shown to be profitable over the years. Now, if you take a look at yesterday, what happened yesterday in the Giants Nationals game, San Francisco took an early 4-0 lead before losing 11-5. So as you can see, the Nationals did come back from a 4-run deficit. Today they are facing the same club and they are not established as big favorites. In fact, they are underdogs and pretty big underdogs. So based on my betting systems, we should be taking the Nationals to pull off the upset against the San Francisco Giants. All right, now in this case, I do like the logic behind this system, but the problem is the performance has not been there. Over the past 4 years, the ROI, the return on investment, has been minus 9.9%, which is really bad and disappointing. In the current season, 2024, we've made 34 wagers by following those rules, and they have yielded some slight gains. So, but here is why I do think it's worth taking a shot on Washington. Blake Snell gets the nod for the Giants, and he is coming off a no-hitter. And a few days or weeks ago, I told you that I like to fade pitchers who are coming off a no-hitter or a perfect game. Someone in the YouTube comments mentioned some numbers about this betting strategy, and it has worked quite well over recent years. Now, when I told you about this betting strategy, I was referring to Dylan Cease, who was coming off a no-hitter, and I was considering fading him. And on that time, on July 31st, it did not work very well because Dylan Cease continued his good performance in an 8-1 victory against the Dodgers. So obviously, that's not a guarantee that it's going to work every time. But as a general rule, I like to bet against pitchers coming off a no-hitter. So that's why I like Washington here. And one more reason is that Blake Snell just threw 114 pitches and in his prior outing 103 pitches. And those are the two highest numbers of the whole season for him. So his arm could be fatigued. I'm not sure he will be in great shape after two long outings. So to me, that is an additional argument to back Washington. And also, at first, when I saw this line, I was thinking, well, Washington is probably sending a pretty poor starting pitcher, given that the line is around plus 140, which is quite high. But no, the Nationals are starting Jake Irvin, who is pretty solid too. In fact, if you look at the season numbers, his ERA is better than Blake Snell. His whip stat is better than Blake Snell. So that is quite surprising. Although I have to admit that Snell got off to a very bad start to the current season, and then he suffered an injury, and since returning to action, he's been incredibly dominant. So it's just as if it's been two different pitchers. All right, then also it's worth noting that Jake Irvin has been struggling of late. He has posted a 6.43 ERA during his past five outings. Ouch! He's been reeling a lot, and that contributed to making the line that high, in my opinion. However, I've read that Washington has a batting average of nearly 400 in their last 10 games against left-handed pitchers, and Blake Snell is a lefty. So that is encouraging as well. Also, the last five times that the Washington Nationals have been home underdogs against the Giants, they have presented a 4-1 record. So, in other words, Washington has been great at pulling off upset at home against San Francisco. So, I'm going to bank on this trend to continue. And that's why I do like the Nationals. In fact, among the four picks that I'm going to talk about today, that could be the one that I like the most. Even though I have to admit that none of them is a premium play. I reserve those picks to my very, very top plays, but I would argue that Washington was quite close from making the final cut here. And well, maybe the main reason why it's not a premium play is because of how badly the comeback system has fared in recent years, as I told you a bit earlier. And I'm still scared of Blake Snell. He's been so dominant recently, even though, like I said, I like fading pitchers coming off a no-hitter. So you can let me know in the comments what you think about this game, the Giants versus Nationals game. It's really okay to disagree with my picks. By the way, I'm always open to your opinion as long as you stay respectful, of course. Up next, I want to talk about the Brewers versus Braves game. And in this case, the betting system that applies is called the blowout number one. Its rules are very simple. You need to bet any team that won its last game by a margin of at least 8 runs if they are facing the same squad again today. And if I remember correctly, yesterday the Brewers demolished the Braves 10-0. So that's why they qualify under this system. However, this is not a trustworthy system. I don't have the exact numbers close to me, but this system has not done well at all over the past 4 years. And also, to me, it is not picky enough. In other words, it makes too many plays per season. Whereas I prefer systems that generate fewer picks per year but that tend to pick their spots, like the famous scoring drought system that has been so lucrative for us over the past 2 years. All right, so I'm not sure I love display at first sight. In fact, so like I said, the system pick here is the Brewers. As you can see, the best line I could find was plus 140 with the Caesars Sportsbook. So should we consider betting Milwaukee or not, even though this is not a very reliable system? Well, the Brew Crew have a shot at winning because they have Freddy Peralta on the mound, although he's facing a tough customer, Chris Sale. It's funny how these two starting pitchers have faced each other 8 days ago, and both of them gave up 2 runs. However, we could argue that Peralta fared a bit better because he only gave up 3 hits. He was just unlucky to allow 2 solo homers, whereas Sale allowed 6 hits in that game. However, Sale has allowed 2 runs or fewer on 9 consecutive starts, which is super, super impressive. He is really hard to beat. So that's why if I was forced to bet, if I was forced to bet, I guess I would go with the Brewers. But honestly, among the 4 picks that I'm talking about today, the 4 system picks, this is probably the one that I like the least. Okay, mainly because Chris Sale is so great. I know Peralta can be dominant at times as well, but I don't know. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of the blowout number one system, especially when we are fading a very strong team. In this case, the Braves are a good team and they will be looking for revenge after getting humiliated at home yesterday. If we were talking about a weaker squad, maybe they would crash down. But in the case of Atlanta, I think they can come back with a solid performance. So honestly, I don't love this play. All right. And finally, we are going to talk about the Tigers versus Mariners game. Hello to Ohio State 03, Marty, who says Cubs it is. Hello to Karen Zaransky. Thank you for showing up again. Brian McGuire says he does like the Nats today as well, and that Irvin has been solid all year, but like I said, he's been struggling lately. Marianne Woods is back again, and Dark Quintet. Thank you everyone for being here. All right, so what's my final pick? This time in the Tigers versus Mariners game. This time, the betting system that applies is called the Big Upset number one, and it is quite interesting. There has to be 3 criteria to be met. So you are going to bet any team that won its previous game at odds greater than plus 150. So that's why this betting angle is called the Big Upset. So you want a team that pulled off a pretty big upset. They had a money line higher than plus 150. If you're more familiar with decimal odds, that's the same as 2.50, by the way. So for example, you want a team that won even though their money line yesterday was plus 165 or 2.65 in decimal. They must also be facing the same opponent, and their money line today must be smaller than plus 125. So that guarantees that you are not going to bet a team that is again a big underdog. Based on historical data, that has not been a strategy that works. So what you want is a team that pulled off a great upset yesterday, but today they are either a favorite or a small favorite. And that is the case of the Detroit Tigers. They were huge underdogs yesterday with a bad starting pitcher on the mound against Luis Castillo, and yet they won the game 4-2, which was extremely surprising. But today the Tigers are not big underdogs. In fact, the highest line I could find was plus 123 with the Bet Online sportsbook. And as you can see, so my system is backing the Detroit Tigers. So if you've been paying attention, that means I am backing four underdogs today. All right, so don't necessarily be surprised if we have a 1-3 record tomorrow, today, sorry. Hopefully, we can pull off a 2-2 record, which would be enough to get a profit. But like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Brewers game, of the Brewers pick. So I would tend to go with the Cubs, the Nationals, and the Tigers. Where again, my favorite play among all of these is Washington. Now, let me say a few more words about this Tigers Mariners game. In this case, so Tariq Skubal is on the mound, and that's why the line is much smaller than yesterday. He's facing George Kirby. The total on this game is amazingly low, 6 runs. I have rarely seen MLB games with a total as low as 6. So Skubal leads the American League with 162 strikeouts. He has some fantastic numbers. His ERA stands at 2.57 and his whip stat is 0.95. Now he is coming off a more difficult game where he gave up 5 runs in close to 6 innings against the Kansas City Royals. Meanwhile, it's interesting to note that George Kirby is also coming off a more ordinary game, although it was not as bad as Skubal. He gave up 7 hits in 5 1/3 innings at Boston. But he only squandered 2 earned runs, which was not that bad. And by the way, just as a quick side note, if you force me to bet on the total in this game, I would tend to go with the over. I mean, I cannot believe that we have a line of 6 in this game, and especially given that both starters are coming off fairly shaky outings. All you need is one of these two guys to falter, and the over might hit. So I would not feel good at all betting the under. I mean, you need 5 runs scored in total or less, which seems quite hard to accomplish in my opinion. Also, one more argument backing the Detroit Tigers here is that Tariq Skubal went to school in Seattle. So this is a bit of a homecoming from him for him, and he will probably have a lot of fans in the stands rooting for him. I've also read that George Kirby's career ERA against the Detroit Tigers in 3 starts is 6.43. So that gives more hope that the Tigers can pull off the upset in this game. All right, so that would be it for me today. So again, you can see the 4 games that I discussed on your screen right now, and my betting systems are recommending to bet 4 underdogs today. So we're taking the Cubs to win straight up against the Twins, the Nationals to defeat the Giants at home. Also, we're taking the Brewers in Atlanta, although my gut feeling doesn't like it. So I would really go easy. Well, personally, I'm simply going to stay away from that game. And finally, we're taking the Detroit Tigers. So I'm hoping we can get a 2-1 record with the Cubs, Nationals, and Tigers. All right, so again, tomorrow, I invite you to come back to another live stream that will take place at 11 a.m. Eastern Time once again. Hopefully, I'll have more betting picks for you, and hopefully, let's cross our fingers that today's picks will generate a profit. All right, so a big thank you. If you enjoyed today's content, please click the thumbs up button. It just takes 2 seconds of your time and it will tell YouTube that you liked the content and they will recommend this video to more people. And I'm hoping to grow the Professor MJ community my number one goal is to grow your sports betting bankroll. So I'm very grateful that you could make it today. Oh, and by the way, before you go, I am strongly considering reintroducing a free prediction contest where you could win cash prizes. I've done it a few times in the past, so right now this is not official, but I'm thinking of having a contest where you're going to predict which teams are going to win on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Major League Baseball. So you're going to pick all of these games, and the person that has the most correct answers will win $100 US. And this contest will be completely free to enter at mjpigs.com. So speaking of mjpigs.com, I really invite you to join. You can choose between a free plan where you get 5 free premium picks every week. So, okay, so again, the premium picks are the top of the top. Or you can sign up to a paid plan where you're going to get all of those premium picks. And so far in the 2024 season, we have accumulated a profit both on sides and totals and also with our prop bets. So I hope you can join our group of smart sports investors. This is really the best product that I have for you. But like I said, if you don't have the budget for it, you can still sign up at mjpicks.com to get those 5 free premium picks every week. And you will also get a chance to participate in free contests where you can win cash prizes. So I'm Professor MJ from Quebec City in Canada. Thank you again for showing up, and I'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. See you again, my sports betting friends.